stop sign when you're at 20 minutes. Afterwards, you'll have 8 minutes for question period with the judges, and there will be no feedback. So you can start whenever you are ready. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you so much for sticking out to the end of the day for us. I'm sure you've heard a ton of great information so far today, and trust me, we're going to throw a little bit more at you. But if you're going to remember one thing that you hear today, it's this. It's this conversation that we're having. Us, the students, and you and your company, Big Steel Box, making a connection and building a relationship. With our recommendation, you're going to be able to do that not only with us, but with hundreds of students across the campus and across Canada. My name is Megan, and with me today are my colleagues Jeremy and Askar. Together we are Jam Consulting, and we are so excited to share with you our ideas to bring Big Steel Box into 2020. So, doing a little bit of analysis, we've identified one core issue that your business is currently facing. That being that you've been unable up to this point to create a sustainable growth strategy to gain new customers. This might sound a little bit scary right now, but all we see from this is a huge opportunity to attack new markets, find a new niche, and bring Big Steel Box to new places all over Canada. Of course, with a big issue like that, we've come up with a couple symptoms here. The first of those being that sales are slowing down. We're seeing less purchases in the residential market, but again, that's just another opportunity for us to find new ways to be profitable. The second, the industry is highly saturated. There are a number of different storage facilities within Kelowna, and we all know that competitive advantage lies in the mind of the consumer. We know and you know that Big Steel Box is the most innovative and efficient way to store things, but if the consumer doesn't know that, they really have no reason to choose Big Steel Box over your competitors, and that's something we really want to focus on. The third, again, going back to the growth strategy, we're lacking a bit of a sense of direction, but again, that's just a huge opportunity for us to find a real niche where we can be super successful and target a whole new market of consumers.
Yeah, definitely. So jumping into some of the analyses that we've done, some of the external pressures that we found, they affect you, they affect us, but most importantly, they affect our industry as a whole. The first being the residential market is definitely falling, and this is going to cause people to spend less money, and they're going to be moving less, which is definitely going to hurt your bottom line. However, we do believe that through our implementation, we can get this back up. And as Megan said, the market is highly saturated right now as well, something to consider moving forward. Going into expansion possibilities, Kelowna is one of the fastest growing cities in BC. All of those Calgary Flames fans all flocking in here is definitely causing a definite opportunity for us. We want to be there and receive them as they come in. So that's definitely an opportunity for us moving forward. Secondly, the large university population. UBCO is expanding every single year, and that means more and more students that are coming in and more students that are looking for moving solutions that are right for them. So looking at that as an opportunity, we now will want to look at some of maybe the weaknesses that we have found. So these vulnerabilities are something that we have considered, and although you have been in this community and in many different communities for over 20 years now, we want to propel you into the next 20 years. Starting off, the website that we found is just it's not clear right now. There's too much information being thrown at the consumer right away. And actually, this is backed up by the fact that we did a survey throughout the past 3 days, and we actually garnered about 42 different responses. And one of the results that we found is that of the 26 people that said Big Steel Box, they've heard of Big Steel Box, only 12% of those people said that they found Big Steel Box through search engines like Google Chrome, like Google and Bing as well. So definitely something to consider. Also, missing out on key market opportunities, like I said, students, also retirees, that's definitely a big market here in Kelowna as well. Going into some of the competencies, you've been here for 20 years rather, and you want to be here for 20 more years, and this is how we're going to do it. Dual competencies in moving and storage. You are the best solution in Western Canada for moving and storage. I firmly believe that. I know you guys firmly believe that, and we want to continue with that. Strong core values as well. The 6 core values that you said, helping your employees, helping the community, and just having fun as well. Something that we want to consider in our implementation, and we want to bring forward into the future of this company. Lastly, large network of offices across Canada, 19 locations with 6 satellite locations. You're definitely doing something right, and we want to continue getting that ball, continuing to move.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Jeremy mentioned, we were lucky enough to complete a pretty in-depth survey, which gave us a lot of cool data to play with. And with that, we actually kind of developed a customer profile of what your ideal customer looks like moving forward. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce you to Jeremy. Jeremy comes from Calgary, and he actually lives just up the hill here on Academy Hill. Around April, when exams are happening, gotta say it, Jeremy turns into a bit of a disaster. He doesn't plan any of his packing, and usually on the last day, he ends up throwing stuff in his car, trying to give stuff away to his friends, and it drives everybody crazy. Usually by the end of it, he's kicking himself and thinking, why didn't I think of a storage option earlier? What Jeremy needs is an efficient solution that comes right to his doorstep that he doesn't even have to think about. And we want Big Steel Box to be that solution for Jeremy. So, moving forward, where do we focus? When evaluating our different alternatives, we've come up with 3 key priorities that we want to implement in every single step of our recommendation and implementation to ensure success. The very first one, going back to that growth strategy again, is diversifying our customer base. We believe by attacking a new market, Big Steel Box is going to be so scalable and so profitable as we move forward. Secondly, maintaining our core values. With whatever we do, we want to make sure that Big Steel Box doesn't spread itself too thin and miss out on the core values that we love, having fun, making your customers feel prioritized. Without those things, we really don't think that Big Steel Box will be able to be successful, and that's why we've identified this as a priority. And our third, and probably the most important, is profitability. Yes, we want to have fun with this recommendation, we want to make our customers feel important, but at the end of the day, we want our recommendation to make your company money.
Definitely. So from those 3 focal points, we actually created 3 different alternatives for you, and I'm just going to do a quick rundown of each of the alternatives right now. First, focus on B2B sales. The residential market is slipping a lot, and 40% of our consumers right now are in the commercial side of things, so why not just focus on that? Why not just leave the residential for a bit and focus on our commercial side? Well, we considered that, and we deemed that it wasn't a very good option just because we're not actually diversifying our consumer base. We're falling back on our loyal consumers already. This also doesn't really align with our core values as a company as well. So we definitely decided to scratch this alternative. Moving on to eastward expansion, you guys have mentioned that that you have excess money to spend and you want to possibly consider expanding into Ontario, Quebec, maybe even Manitoba as well. However, we do believe that this will be profitable in the long term. However, in the short term, it will be very costly. And also, we don't want to sacrifice those core values that we've worked hard to develop over the last 20 years, right? As we spread out more and more, we don't want to spread out our customer service so that it's not up to par with what we expect from ourselves. Moving on to the Big Student Initiative that ultimately we chose. The Big Student Initiative is a full initiative that surrounds students and targeting students where they want their storage options to be, and we want to be there for them to provide the flexible, accessible, and cost-effective options for students.
As we mentioned before, we conducted a survey and asked students if they would use flexible, convenient, and affordable storage during their move out on the summer. So majority answered that they would use it, but unfortunately they don't have a vehicle to put their belongings into storage. So it can be a great opportunity to reach this market, student market that don't have vehicles.
Yeah, definitely. So getting into more of what does this Big Student Initiative look like, starting off with the Big Student Box. These Big Student Boxes are modified big steel boxes that can hold about 20 different students' belongings in about a 4x4 foot space, which is perfect for a mini fridge and also some bedding as well, which is what most students actually want in their storage solutions. We will be partnering with Veda Mission Group and UBC SUO to have these boxes located on Academy Hill as well as the campus, so they're there and accessible when students are in those tough times during exams. They don't want to be worrying about storage, so the students can slowly move their stuff into storage as they go throughout the month of April. Lastly, this gives students an easy and affordable storage solution. So coming into our second prong of this approach, the making connections. So we don't want to just provide big student boxes to the campus. We want to become ingrained with student culture. And to become ingrained with student culture, we first want to update the website and search engine optimization. Because we don't have as many students coming in from the website, we want to revamp it. And so in order to be more consumer friendly, as well as have that platform that we can kind of go off of. Next is the Expo Day Campus Box. So Expo Day is a great community event to meet first years coming into the campus for the first time, and we want to be there giving out flyers, giving out cookies, having fun. Remember, values, having fun. We want to have fun with the students, and so having that Expo Day box will also get the word out as well. And all in all, it's just really a customer life cycle thing. If we get these students in first year, we can have these students using our big steel boxes throughout their whole 4 university years, and also moving forward as these students start to settle down into families. We want to be there for them, providing their solutions, providing any solutions that they want, and especially moving into that single dwelling as well. That's a big market for us too. So looking at our third prong of the approach, the big donation box. So this is kind of our CSR initiative of the approach, and it's basically a donation box that we will set up on campus around the times of April and September. A lot of students are moving out. They have a lot of stuff. They can't really fit it in these smaller things. So we want to be able to give the students an option to donate some of their belongings. And so this is really emphasizes community as well. Next, getting into some of our cost estimates. So for the cost per box for our partners is going to be $2,000. And so those partners, Veda, Mission, UDC, SUO, they're going to be paying that $2,000 for us to come drop the box off, leave it for the month of April, grab it, and then bring it back home, bring it back to the storage facility. And then for the price for students, about $50 per month. Is what we suggest our partners to price to the students. Number of students per box is 20, and so ultimately these partners will be able to make about $2,000 per box per every 4 months term. And that'll be good because a lot of these Veda, Mission, UBC, SUO, they have downtimes in the summer when their students not really here. So being able to have an additional cash flow is definitely something that they're going to want, as well as something that we want.
So here we provided an example of how big student box might look like. So as we already mentioned, students looking for affordability, convenience, and flexibility. This container is ideal for all of them because it's relatively lower price than competitors, and it's convenient because it's located right after the data. So, and also it's flexible because students can pack at their own pace and you don't have to rush through the moving process.
So it's great to talk about all these amazing ideas, but we need a plan. We've broken up our implementation into 3 different phases, and I'm going to start right off with our big structuring phase. As you can see, we want to start right away in October and get our boots on the ground as soon as possible. Our first action item here is actually starting to have meetings with Veda, Mission Group, and the SUO, starting to cultivate those relationships and maybe start drafting up some different agreements. And again, that's going to start right in the beginning of October. The $500 allocated there is just the people attending the meetings, a portion of their salary. The second action item here is actually getting the agreements drafted and completely signed. We want to have that happening around mid-January, and we've allocated a cost of around $20,000 there, mostly for legal fees. Our third action item, which is very important, again, we want to start this right away in the beginning of October, is start developing our website. You can see that we've allocated about a 4-month timeline for this, and we believe that's very reasonable in terms of if we choose to contract this, which is what we're thinking for a web developer, and we're thinking this is going to cost around $16,000 for that 4-month timeline. Moving into our fourth action item here is we're looking at hiring an engineering co-op student to actually design the different customizable boxes that we're looking for. Again, this really aligns with our core values of giving back to the community. So here we're looking at about an 8-month timeline to fully design this box and a salary of about $20,000. One key performance indicator of this phase is after the website is completely developed and we've started implementing our search engine optimization, as Jeremy touched on earlier, we're looking for about 10,000 new impressions on the website just by the end of February, and from that we're really going to be able to gauge any bugs that we might need to fix and how well our website is actually working.
So the main risk here is in case where Big Steel Box are able to form partnership with Beta and the Mission Group, but we still can mitigate that risk by, Big Steel Box already have good connections with UBCO, GDCOS, and MSA, so it will be easier to negotiate with UBC SUO and to purchase their containers. And if it will be profitable, Beta and Mission Group can purchase these containers in the future.
All right, moving into our second phase here. It's called the big action phase for a reason. You can see we have a pretty strict timeline here, March to April. We've got quite a few action items. We have a really good plan in place to make sure that your company is able to get everything done. So the first thing is we want to have the box, the design completely finalized just by the end of March there. That $30,000 is a portion of the engineer's salary as well as a few production costs. Starting at the beginning of March and reaching into the beginning of April, we want boxes to begin being produced. In March, before the designs are fully finalized, you can start producing some of the different parts. The $10,000 there is partially labor and of course parts there, and we want to make sure that that's completed right before, or well before April, so that our students are able to move in easily and efficiently once we start to begin. Our third action item here is finalizing our list of customers from partners. This is a pretty easy action item, but we just want to make sure that we have a list of all the students who are using our facilities, so the transition of them moving their things into our boxes is truly as easy and efficient as possible. Fourth is we want to set up the big donation box. You can see here that we aligned this for the beginning of March. You might be wondering why. Well, we know a ton of students actually don't usually have exams, so they'll be leaving at the beginning of April, and we want to give them the opportunity to donate to these boxes as well. As Jeremy mentioned, we'll have one set up on campus and one downtown for those students living off campus, and that'll give them an opportunity to donate. The $3,000 allocated there are mostly the physical cost of the box, as well as some moving costs to move the boxes back and forth. Our fifth action item here, maybe the most important, is students actually begin moving in. This will start in the beginning of April and stretch just until the end of April or beginning of May as students are wrapping up their exams. Again, we don't want to rush anything. We want this to be a simple, kind of calm process. The $1,000 we've allocated there are mostly just for your company, Big Steel Box, moving those boxes back and forth again. One key performance indicator for this phase is that the budget for box production doesn't actually end up exceeding $10,000 with the different functionality checks in place. With this key performance indicator, we're going to really be able to ensure that we're successful. Making sure that the boxes are functional while still staying under budget will really tell us whether we're being efficient or not. All right, our third phase here is the big growth phase. This is after everything's all said and done, everyone's belongings are packed away. How can we scale this? So first, Expo Day. Again, as Jeremy touched on earlier, we want to make a huge splash at Expo Day. Having our big expo box with tons of music, food is really going to give students a great idea of what Big Steel Box can offer them. We've allocated about $1,000 there for different food and promotional materials, and that'll be happening around September. Our second action item here is to evaluate the success of the Big Student Box. So after students have all their stuff packed away, we'll be sending them a customer satisfaction survey, which will give us a really good idea of what we can improve upon in the future. We've allocated about $10,000 there for some research and development. Our third action item is to assess the viability of Big Student Box at other locations. So we know you have a number of locations across Canada, and we truly believe this is scalable for a number of locations such as Calgary and the island, because we know there are a lot of universities there. And our fourth action item is looking for other expansion opportunities for the big donation box. We believe Christmas is the perfect time to do this, maybe moving some big donation boxes downtown, and again, super scalable with your other locations as well. One KPI for this phase is about a 35% increase in website traffic after the expo. We really hope that this gives students a great idea of what Big Steel Box has to offer, and we'll be able to measure that by any increased clicks on the website.
So the main read here is the boxes that we modify for students will use only for 4 months during the summer, but we can mitigate that risk by designing the box in a way that we can disassemble them and use for other purposes.
So, what we hope we provided for you today is a simple solution for your forward-thinking company that truly allows you to capitalize on a completely new market that you've never touched before. We believe this is super scalable to all of your different locations, and we'd like to thank you so much for your time today, and now we'll open the floor to questions.
I guess I'll start this time. So what happens if you're unable to negotiate a contract with any one of the entities you mentioned, say the university, and Beta, and Mission Group aren't interested? What's the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. So something we might evaluate there is looking at different locations with different universities, maybe leveraging some of those things. We also know that there are a number of summer home communities within Kelowna that might be able to utilize this specific design of boxes. So while they're away for the winter, they can have all of their things. So we have a number of different options that we can move to.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good too, actually. Yeah. Good.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you.
Thank you.